Ready, set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of gold and blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50, the 10, to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Boot. Not this night!
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the gold and blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, June 17th edition. And do we have some good news to talk about here for WVU football fans as we continue to cover recruiting for this 2026 class? We have a big update on a potential high-ranking prospect, a highly touted prospect that West Virginia is going after. And, we've talked about some guys that are at the top of my wish list in that 2026 class. This is going to be another name that would join them right there on that wish list. Really explosive player. When we take a look at this film, you're going to absolutely love what you see from Dezyrian Ellis. That's who we're going to be checking out here for the 2026 recruiting update. Do have another update for the incoming freshman that'll be coming in here in, month or so's time and joining the roster here over the summer for this 2025 season, the start of the Rich Rod 2.0 era. So that's kind of what's on the agenda. Won't be a very long stream, but man, is it an important one. And this is really exciting stuff here as a 2026 potential quarterback target visiting WVU this week. Could be going on as we speak here, guys, as this live stream is coming on June 17th. And I think you guys are really going to like what you see from Dezyrian Ellis. And what's most interesting to me about this is, tell me if this story sounds familiar. A really talented player, super elusive, got a lot of speed, not the best passing percentage numbers, not the highest completion rate. So, he's high rated in the recruiting site on the recruiting sites, which we'll take a look at momentarily. And he has big time programs after him. We're talking SEC, Big Ten, including LSU being after him. But guess what they were targeting, Matt? They're targeting him to be a defensive back. Most of the programs that are targeting him, wanting him to be a defensive back, although he plays quarterback and cornerback at the high school level. From what I understand, West Virginia may be targeting him to be a quarterback. And tell me that story doesn't sound familiar to West Virginia fans, if you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know, right? If you were around back in the early, Rich Rod first tenure here, that's super exciting. I think when you watch the film, you'll understand why I'm as excited about it as I am. Now, of course, we still have to talk Legend Bay because we're talking quarterback recruits in this 2026 class. So we'll get to all that momentarily. Before I dive too much further into discussing Dezyrian Ellis, so excited about this guy. I want to dive right in. So I won't keep you guys waiting too long, but I do want to say that I appreciate you guys that are tuned in here live. See the numbers going up here on the StreamYard counter there. Appreciate that. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, be sure if you're on Facebook or Twitch, be coming over to the Country Roads Webcast YouTube page, subscribe here, get our pre-recorded videos, podcast episodes, in addition to just these live streams you'll find on Facebook or Twitch. And if you watch here on YouTube, whether live or on a playback, throw your thoughts in the live chat or in the comment section there on the playback, and be sure just hit that thumbs up button. It'll only take a second, fast, easy, and free to do, and it helps us out a ton. Hits that YouTube algorithm. This video will find more Mountaineer football fans like yourself, and we really appreciate all of you guys and your support here at the CRW. So with no further ado, let's talk 2026 quarterback recruiting, because we know we have Jaron Hughley in the class already. He's a talented prospect, and you guys know, as I've talked about 2026 recruiting updates, that Legend Bay is on the top of my wish list, and he's going to be making a decision later this month. West Virginia is in his top 5. Let me pull up that list here of his top final 5, which he's going to be deciding. I think it's June 28th, but I want to pull it up to get the date right officially, just to have a reminder on that. We know West Virginia was in his top 10. West Virginia is now in his top 5. He visited back for the spring game, of course. We talked about that in the past. Let me see what day he's announcing here. I know he put it out on social media recently. If I could find the tweet again. Let's see. I think it's June 28th. I don't see the tweet now, but the final 5 is, because I do have that pulled up here on his social media account: Tennessee, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Duke, and West Virginia. And of course, Legend Bay, super fast quarterback prospect, really highly touted athlete, 4-star prospect by some recruiting services there in that 2026 class. And this is not a knock on him by any means. And, we know West Virginia is taking 2 quarterbacks in this class. They already have Hughley in the fold. So I think a lot of people are probably suspecting, learning about us going out after Dezyrian Ellis, that this means, Legend Bay is probably not committing to us later this month. And that's one way to look at this. But I think another way to look at it is Dezyrian Ellis is such an explosive athlete. You want to bring him in no matter what, even if he does end up playing, defensive back like a lot of programs are targeting to do. But I think, he could end up being a quarterback that's like tailor-made for a Rich Rod offense. And you guys will see why I feel like that here when we check out some of his highlights momentarily. But I think, you go after a guy like this regardless. You don't turn down good football players that want to come play for you. West Virginia is able to get him in on a visit. And like we said, other really highly touted programs have had him in on visits and have offered him, as we'll see here when we pull up his offer list. But I think the interesting angle here is, if they're all targeting him to be a defensive back, if West Virginia is offering him the chance to play quarterback, that could be our way in, just like it was historically back in the past. But in that same token, where this staff has also shown they'll get athletes like this and, move them to other positions, and they'll work out great in that way as well. We just talked recently about Cam Vaughn, who's coming in probably to be wide receiver number 1 for West Virginia this year. He was a high school quarterback, kind of flew under the radar recruiting wise. Jack State brings him in, moves him to receiver, learns the position, develops under Ryan Garrett. West Virginia's now receivers coach, debuts as a redshirt freshman last season, has over 800 yards receiving as a redshirt freshman in a run-heavy offense, and that's more receiving yards than any receiver we had during the 6 years of the Neil Brown tenure. So this staff has shown the ability to, do either thing there. They can bring in Dezyrian Ellis and make him a super talented quarterback that's tailor-made for this offense, or they could play him in another position and develop him that way as well. I think he's so explosive and talented. You bring him in regardless. But also, if you want to be someone that's more pessimistic, looking on the other side of the coin that we talked about there earlier, and this means maybe Legend Bay isn't going to commit to West Virginia and is going to go somewhere else, then I think you could do a lot worse than get Dezyrian Ellis there instead as your second quarterback, because I've talked about that wish list and where Legend Bay sits. Dezyrian Ellis is right there. I think they're 1A and 1B on my wish list now. And when we pull up these highlights momentarily, you'll see why. Let's take a look at Dezyrian Ellis's recruiting page, and you'll see what I'm talking about the discrepancy of what position he's going to play, but why I think West Virginia is going to put him at quarterback. I think you'll notice in the highlights. So first of all, let's talk about how we know he's visiting West Virginia. So, saw it floating around. And if you just Google Dezyrian Ellis, West Virginia, you see it talked about multiple places. There's a Sports Illustrated article that talks about LSU pushing for a West Virginia and Michigan State target. And there's a 247 article, which says Houston target athlete Dezyrian Ellis previews upcoming visits. If you click on it, it's a VIP article, so you won't be able to read it if you're not a VIP member. That's why I can't share it on the screen with you guys. But I can say, read to you what it says here, saying Ellis has locked in official visits with Houston, Michigan State, Tulane, LSU, and visits to West Virginia and ULL. And I found another 247 article earlier. That one's from the Houston page there. I can't remember which one it was from. I think it was on here on the main page. It might be a couple pages back, but he said it was going to be on June 16th. So if it was, then it's happening this week, could be happening as we speak potentially, as far as Dezyrian Ellis is concerned. So That's what I'm talking about as far as him visiting. But you look here at the discrepancies that I'm talking about. Rivals list him as a cornerback recruit. I don't have the On3 page pulled up, but I did look at it. They list him as an athlete, and he's I believe, a 4-star recruit on Rivals or on On3, one of the two. But borderline on all of these sites, 3-star cornerback recruit on the Rivals page. There you see all the offer lists that we talked about there. He is from Louisiana, so LSU is involved here, but they are recruiting him as a defensive back. He's a top 15 player in the state of Louisiana, top 40 at the position, but West Virginia getting him in on a visit is big here. So there's his Rivals page, but let's go to 247 where they do list him as a quarterback recruit, actually. And when we see his highlights, I think at West Virginia, that's got to be what they're targeting at. At least that's what I'm hoping and think would be the best fit, because to me, tailor-made, just like we talked about with Legend Bay, going out, both of these quarterback recruits that are at the top of my wish list right now, I think are tailor-made for a Rich Rod offense. And Dezyrian Ellis from Franklin Parish High School in Louisiana, listed as a quarterback on 247, Winsboro, Louisiana. And look at the rating, 3-star 89. So right there, on the cusp of a 4-star and a top 12 player in the state of Louisiana. And they have him as a top 25 athlete in the entire country there for Dezyrian Ellis, who I'm super excited about. And we talked about the other programs in on him, LSU, Michigan State, Houston, just to name a few. West Virginia involved, though, as he is visiting Morgantown. So that's huge news, guys. Especially you can get excited about it when we take a look at some of his game here. Let me pull this up, guys. This is what's going to get you excited about Dezyrian Ellis, I think. This is nearly 7 minutes long. Remember, this is only his junior highlights. So he's like 16 years old at this point, I think. Let me pull up his social media really quick where I pulled this from to show you, because he does give some of his stats here in addition to it. He has this pinned. So first team all-state quarterback there in the 2 to 4A all-district MVP there in Louisiana. So showing how highly regarded he is there, and they play some good football there. Nearly 2,200 passing yards and 31 passing touchdowns, 827 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns. Like we said, first team all-state quarterback, first team all-district MVP, and first team LFCA quarterback. And we're going to take a look at these junior highlights now. And, we talked about legend-based speed, which I absolutely love. And Dezyrian Ellis has a lot of speed as well. But I think what's even more impressive and I like about Dezyrian Ellis that excites me about him is he's a little bit more elusive. He's got a little bit more of that, cut ability, if you want to call it, to go along with the speed, which he has a ton of as well. Legend Bay might have him beat by speed on a hair, and Legend Bay might have a little bit better of an arm. But Dezyrian Ellis certainly can make hay in the run game, and like I said, tailor-made for a Rich Rod offense. So let's take a look here at Dezyrian Ellis, another 2026 target for West Virginia that now is up near the top of my wish list. Watch him take off here. So this is on a read option, and that's also, I think, what you like about this highlight tape and what convinced me, like, they've got to be targeting him as a quarterback, because the plays that he's running here are similar to things we'll see in Rich Rod's offense. Look at this one, read option, deep in his own territory, gets through the line initially, and then he's gone. So you see there's some of the speed. He has plenty of speed himself. Don't let me knock it. You know what I'm saying? He is a fast quarterback as well. Speedy and elusive. That's why I put that in the title here for Dezyrian Ellis. There he is on a fake jet sweep and just a power play right there behind it. And there you look at him cutting across field. You see what I'm talking about there with the ability to make guys miss? And then you pair that with the speed and the style of scheme that he's in. It's tailor-made. And look right there. Look right there. Look at him doing a back handspring there after the touchdown. Does this guy not have some athleticism to him? That's what I'm talking about with what he brings to the table here with his little bit of, agility. I love it, man. I think that this guy would be such a freaking awesome addition for a Rich Rod offense. Like, I think if you get either Legend Bay or Dezyrian Ellis, you're talking about the potential quarterback of the future, guys. We got to get excited here. Let's take a look at a few more plays here. We'll go a little bit deeper into the Dezyrian Ellis highlight tape than we usually do, because, I got it's the only prospect we really got to talk about besides the 2025 class update I want to do. Like I said, it won't be too lengthy of a stream here, but we got to talk about him. So here's a look at him here, dropping back and throwing a nice throw there into the hole of the zone. Right there, they were playing some zone. He drops it in between the linebackers and the safety, so not able to put some touch on the ball. You see a little bit of his passing highlights there. And then here he is scrambling out, keeping his eyes downfield, hitting his man over the middle. Watch him here again, dropping back, scrambling out, and then making a play with himself. Look how many people he made miss there. Was that 3 people in a row? And then he still gets loose and is tough to tackle there at the end. Now, but you see here in some of the passing numbers, does need a little bit of work on the passing side of things, but I think that that's something you could do, in a hurry. And he does have, a little bit of the raw athleticism. He has the arm strength. It's just some of the intangibles, like the one play he made here that we saw on the stream there where he scrambled out and hit it over the middle. Like in college, that's probably an interception because it was late and over the middle. But man, what he brings to the table athleticism wise is so exciting. He's such a really good prospect. Like he would be one of our best pickups in this 2026 class if we can get him. So excited that he's coming in on a visit, guys. There he is making a play there. So, but I do like that about him. He is still a guy that when he scrambles out and uses those wheels, he will still keep his eyes downfield to make a play in the passing game. And you accompany that with what he brings to, some of the plays that we've seen him use that are similar to what we run in the Rich Rod offense. And you see why I think he's tailor-made. All right, here he is again. This time, look at that. Is that not a Rich Rod play right there? Just a quarterback power, quarterback sweep, whatever, one of the two, whichever you want to call it. Gets around. I believe he's in there. I believe he got over the pylon. They marked him short, I think, but it looked like he reached it over to me. Let's take a look at one more here. And this is just like I said, this is only not even 50% of this highlight tape, guys. Oh, look at that play. I love that, guys, because that shows multiple things that I love about this guy's game. Let's go back and rewatch that one more time because look right here. So the pocket breaks down. And watch this. He utilizes his ability to make people miss, that elusiveness that I talked about. He utilizes it not only on a run play in this highlight tape. And like I said, this is only a little bit of it. This is 6 minutes plus, and this is only his junior season. His senior year might even end up being more impressive, and he may shoot up the recruiting rankings. Would love to get him committed before then. But makes a guy miss right there in the backfield, and then gets out, scramble drill, perfect pass there where you see some of that arm strength, and it's a touchdown. Great one to end on, and oh my goodness, am I excited about Dezyrian Ellis. So hyped that he's visiting WVU. This is big news, guys. I think that West Virginia has some really talented 2026 quarterbacks that they're going after that are great fits for Rich Rod's scheme. We already have Hughley in the fold committed. We're watching Legend Bay. We're in his Final Five, and now we're talking to Dezyrian Ellis, who is such a talented prospect. Had to come on here and do a special stream just to talk about him. Really excited, guys. Really excited about Mr. Ellis. So, like I said, can't be with you guys too long. Got to jet off to work before long here, but I do want to update you a little bit on the 2025 prospects that are coming in because we do have a small update to do to that side of things. And that is a couple guys that aren't going to be coming in. And we knew this was a potential to happen with some of these incoming freshmen because of the upcoming roster limits. We're still up in the air on exactly what that number is going to be for this season. We know ultimately it's going to get down to 105 after the next couple of years. They're kind of grandfathering them in or whatever you want to call it here this year. And I think the number will probably be closer to like 120. I think that's what West Virginia is kind of planning on it being. And then eventually they'll get it down to 105, probably gradually over the next couple of years. So let's take a look here. We have one 2025 enrollee that's not coming, and that is cornerback Tyrell Russell. Both of these were reported by Skylar Callahan over at WVU SI. So he will be going instead to Toledo. And then another departure that they had reported on is an offensive lineman from that 2025 class. And like I said, all these guys are going to be enrolling here in the next few weeks to a month or so over the summer. And that is offensive lineman Jameer Davis as well. So shout out to WVSI for reporting that. So let me go ahead and show you guys these guys that are going to be coming in now, which we'll be adding to the roster soon in a future roster update. And I've already removed the guys that came in early for West Virginia and we're here for the spring. So we can remove Jameer Davis and we can remove Tyrell Russell. And we'll have to wait and see if any other guys do not come in the future because of the roster limits. We'll see. I do believe that, like I said, Jeff Weimer, he's one that's not listed on the roster yet, but I have heard he's on campus. Same for Mikkel Clay, but neither one of those two listed on the roster yet. So we'll have to wait and see. Mikkel Clay came in this recent transfer portal cycle. Weimer was in the first, but he's a transfer addition that hadn't enrolled yet. Was supposed to come in kind of when these incoming freshmen did. That's why he's on the list. Same goes for Marshawn Oxley and Keenan Eck, a couple of junior college additions that have yet to be added to the roster. So we're waiting on those. And then the rest of these guys are incoming freshmen that'll be added soon. So you saw the big roster update we did here in early June to add, most of West Virginia's transfer portal class, save for the two names that I just discussed there moments ago that came in via this transfer portal window post-spring. Now we're just waiting on the freshmen, and then we'll have the complete roster. So once that happens, I'll be having a roster update to add these guys' names to the roster officially. And then we'll update our CRW roster tracker. And then after that, we'll begin our position preview series to get us through the offseason and lead up to fall camp. But now we have all of these these guys coming in here over the next couple of weeks. So that's to wrap the 2025 class. And then the 2026 class, man, we're super excited about it continuing to grow. Already 18 verbal commits. And how about the big news? Not too many people realized, I guess, that we were targeting Dezyrian Ellis. It kind of snuck up on me anyways. But, man, it's huge news if you're asking me that West Virginia is going after this guy because he's a high-ranking prospect in Louisiana. A lot of big programs after him. And I think at West Virginia, he could be more of a fit than anywhere else because of what Rich Rod does offensively if they choose to play him there. And I'm certainly hoping that they do after what we've seen on film from him. I'm excited about Dezyrian Ellis and super hype about the 2026 class in general as it continues to unfold. And as it does, I'll continue to keep you updated here on the CRW. So be sure you're subscribed here to the YouTube channel for roster updates, portal updates, recruiting updates, all that good stuff, keeping you abreast on WVU football and basketball news here. So if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch Live, appreciate that. But be sure to come over and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, where we put out additional content instead of the live streams. And if you are here on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, help us out with that algorithm, whether you're watching live or on the playback. If you didn't get a chance to chat live, throw your thoughts in the comments section. Appreciate those interactions as well. But I will catch up on some of the guys that did hop in here live really quickly before we wrap up this June 17th stream, updating a new West Virginia target in the 2026 class that's up at near the top of my wish list now for this 2026 targets. Got WVU Chad. What's up, man? Appreciate you as always, WVU Chad, and always big fan of that profile pic. Got the picture with the mage. All good. Thanks, Jordan. Smash that like button. Appreciate that, Chad. Appreciate that. And appreciate the kind words there and the reminder. Yeah, hit that like button. That helps out. Got my guy JR in here. What's up? What's up? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, he is filthy at receiver, talking about Cam Vaughn and the transition he made. Yeah, he was a high school quarterback. Hey, what's going on, Kenny? Good to see you, bro. Appreciate you hopping in. Earth Ether said, wow, kind of Pat Whitish there after looking at the film a little bit on Dezyrian Ellis. And wouldn't that be eerie if he does come to West Virginia to play quarterback just because of the way that it would unfold here? Because if you guys remember, and just to kind of go back to this, like I said, I got to head out of here in the next couple of minutes because I do have to head off to work in a few, and I do want to get to the last couple of comments there. But Earth Ether, since you touched on it, I got to hit on it because I did tease it a little bit at the open. And for those of you that may not know, because maybe some of you weren't around for Rich Rod's first tenure at WVU and know how the Pat White recruiting process unfolded, but Pat White was, a talented high school quarterback, but not a lot of people thought he could play that at the next level. He was being recruited as a defensive back by, some big name programs. And the main one, he was going to go to LSU to play defensive back. And it's so funny that, of course, he ends up coming to WVU to play quarterback. We know the career, the rest is history. And it's so funny that now not only is Rich Rod back, but Pat White's been back on staff as the assistant quarterbacks coach as well. And we're potentially recruiting Dezyrian Ellis here, a really talented athlete that has amazing film playing the quarterback position, but not a lot of people feel he can play it at the next level. And he's from Louisiana, and one of the main people that's going after him is LSU to play what? Defensive back. How crazy is that? That's almost fate if he comes to WVU. That's just something else that gets me a little bit more excited about Dezyrian Ellis, and maybe makes you understand why it's so interesting enough for me to feel the need to do a stream on it here today for the June 17th edition. But yeah, man, the film is kind of eerie as well because the way he's able to cut and still keep the speed and stuff does kind of give you that feeling also. So it's super exciting, Earth Ether, and appreciate you, and makes me feel like I'm not crazy, not the only one that's seeing it. And he does have a good old line as well, as Earth Ether says. And W Mountain with Kenny says, it'll be wonderful if he pans out like Pat White. If he comes anywhere near, the success Pat had, I'd be thrilled because, 34-9, I think it was as a starter. I don't know if anyone will ever touch that record again. But man, it would be so crazy. What if history could repeat itself? My goodness, guys, that would be awesome. We've been super excited for the Rich Rod era and there's recruiting thus far. And this would maybe be the one that really would put that excitement even over the top, right? And they said Pat White was too undersized to play quarterback. And I'd say they're saying similar things right now about, Dezyrian Ellis, the programs that are recruiting at defensive back. So maybe history will repeat itself. And they are similar in size as well. He's 6'2", 180. Pat White, by the time he finished his career, I think he was playing at 6'1", 192 was what he was listed at as his roster his senior year here at WVU. So similar there even. So yet again, that's why, when we talk about Legend Bay, when we talk about Dezyrian Ellis, the two targets that are West Virginia is going after here in this 2026 class, potentially for the quarterback position, and even Jaron Hughley, the one that they have committed. They're all, really good fits for the Rich Rod scheme, I think. And that's what gets you most hype about this, but super excited. Can't wait to see how it turns out. But on a visit to Morgantown. So you know what that means. Commitment watch once they make it to Morgantown. So we're watching Dezyrian Ellis, seeing what's happened. We're watching Legend Bay later this month, seeing what happens there in that situation. Also, I think soon between one of the two, potentially, West Virginia could have their second quarterback that they're taking in the 2026 class. We'll see what happens. And, don't rule out Dezyrian Ellis maybe playing another position also. You never know, but I think he's tailor-made for a quarterback at WVU. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section that didn't get a chance to chat here live. Appreciate you guys that did get a chance and chatted with me live here for this earlier in the day stream. And I appreciate you guys that will listen to this after the fact on the audio side. Can't forget about you guys. Check us out on any podcast platform you like and leave us a rating if you do on that side of things. Really appreciate that as well. But that'll do it for me on this one, guys. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.